Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am gonna be talking about my life moving to California and just moving back, the process, and a whole bunch of my friends. I asked them to ask me questions because they're probably very curious how everything went down and everything. So I'm gonna make this video on how I moved to California as a Canadian. So I'll give you a little background, but I pretty much moved there in 2017 to start school. I was going into communication arts, but I realized that most of the courses were like very artsy, so I decided to switch to business. I like vacationed in California a lot of times, so I would say it's kind of like a second home, but I've only gone to like the more touristy places like, you know, Anaheim, like Rodeo Drive. Like I've never ventured out anywhere else. So I also moved there because I was in a long distance relationship and I wanted to be out there with him. So school allowed me to have a school visa, which gave me 2 to 3 years to graduate from there, and I could travel in and out of the US. I guess I'll start off with like the first question. What was the hardest thing I needed to adjust? So my whole life I've been living with parents, like family. Like I honestly was not independent at all. I didn't like do anything for myself. So just moving there, I was shook. I like didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. Like I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be with people. And my boyfriend at the time taught me a lot. He said like, I need to go out there, like start my own bank account, go to DMV, get my license. And that was pretty much like a scary process just to go by myself, because like your parents aren't there for you to help you with that. So I think that's one of the hardest things I had to adjust to. I need to figure out like what I need to do as like a person to like live by myself. So definitely that was like a struggle. There would be times where I'd be crying. I would just break down and I honestly wouldn't know what to do. Like my family was still like, I was able to still keep in contact with them, which, you know, is nice, but when they're not physically here and they're just telling you what to do, then that is a struggle as well. Overall, it definitely took a year to do. I didn't necessarily want to go out. I didn't want to, you know, make friends. I just wanted to go to school and like, that's it. I didn't even know how to use Uber because Vancouver doesn't have Uber. So I was a little freaked out by that, but over time, like Uber probably is like the best thing ever. I took a bus a lot to school, and I think just there's like a little scare where you're just by yourself and you're not really sure what to do, and you know, not everybody can be there for you like at school. So that was definitely a struggle. The second question is, was it easy for people to tell you weren't from Cali? Yeah, for sure. I think I definitely had an accent, like Canadian accent, but not as strong. I worked at the bookstore at school, so a lot of times I would be like, oh, like, sorry, could you like, you know, like do this? Oh, sorry, could you do this? And then people would be like, why are you saying sorry? And it's like, oh, it's like, isn't that the polite thing to do is to say like, sorry, kind of like excuse me, but like, I don't know. And then a lot of people, I guess I kind of said A sometimes, but not really, but it wasn't as like visible. So you can definitely tell like some people kind of knew, but then others, they were like totally oblivious to it. When I like told them, they'd be like, what? Like they think it's like the coolest thing ever. And like as Canadian, I was just like, oh, I guess, you know, they've never traveled Canada before. Like they never like met Canadian people. So I guess like understandable where like they're coming from. For third question, did I experience culture shock? A little bit. So I stayed in the Pasadena area, and before I moved, I like didn't know what Pasadena was at all. I was like, what the heck is that? And then it's kind of like the suburbs of Vancouver. So it's kind of where I live already, so I got used to it. But I guess like different things, like I never experienced like so many Hispanic people, or just like the different like types of like food. Like there would be like so much more food trucks, like carts. And then with shopping, I would say it's kind of the same as Vancouver, but for some reason, like California, there's not much like recycling, or like they're not very, you know, environmentally friendly. And I was like not used to that. I was like, where do I put my cans? Like, where do I put my paper? And it would just like end up in the trash, like all of it. And someone told me that they would sort it out the garbage like place, and I was like, okay, like whatever you say. So I definitely got used to that, just throwing like plastic, like food, just down the garbage, and like that's it. But other than that, a lot of people say like Americans are like mean or like not as nice, but during my time there, I don't think I could tell a difference. Like there were so many people that were really nice, and as long as you're nice to them, then they will like give you that niceness back. But then that's pretty much the experience, like culture shock that I kind of had, but it wasn't like as much as a big one. How different is lifestyle compared to Vancouver? So as I mentioned, like we are very like environmentally friendly here, and then they are not. Man, not many people out and about, or like a lot of cars are driving. Like no one's biking, like no one's walking. It depends, like if you live in the beach like Santa Monica, Venice area, then of course there's going to be a lot of people like biking, walking. But in the suburbs or like downtown LA, there's no one walking. It's constantly driving, or like Ubers, like maybe some transit, but that's pretty much it. And then the lifestyle in LA at nighttime, I would say like it's a pretty like good amount. Like people are still like, a lot of people are going to the clubs, bars, but when you think of downtown Vancouver, like you think like, oh my gosh, like it's so nice, like not East Hastings area, but like Robson Street, like everybody's like walking, shopping, everything's clean. I thought downtown LA would be the same. And when I got there, I was like, what is this? There's cockroaches, crickets, smell of pee everywhere. Like I was so shocked. I was like, this is downtown LA. Like, it's not what I would imagine it to be when you hear that. But I guess I was pretty much thinking like, oh, it would be like, you know, Rodeo Drive. It would be like Beverly Hills. I think that's what I envisioned. But when it actually came to going to downtown LA, I was like pretty disappointed. But now living there, I definitely understand why people are just like, oh, like why would you go downtown LA? And like now I know. So that was definitely a very big difference. But other than that, not too many people go to the malls in LA. Definitely a mall thing is a Vancouver thing. Maybe it's because it's rained here a lot, or just like we don't have as much stuff to do. But a lot of like new food places, like boba shops are everywhere. Like you'll never run out of a choice. And like constant, like I guess more poke bars, like a lot of, I wouldn't say healthy choices, but they're trying to, everywhere is very aesthetic. They have to like have some Instagrammable like part to them, or no one will go to their business. So that's what I like definitely recognized. How would I describe the people? People there, I would say like some are nice, some are like okay, but I realized like the homeless people there, they don't actually like go up to you at all. Surprisingly, like usually in Vancouver there's a lot of homeless people here that come up to you and they're like, oh, like begging for money or just like trying to get in your face. But there, like, they're all doing their own stuff. Like, they don't care, doing whatever. And let's see, there's a lot of people on, I don't know how to describe it, the traffic light stops. So there's medians in the middle, and then like, a lot of people like have like their signs, like camp out, or just like, that's what I noticed. But other than that, like I said before, like if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you back. And I think one time I came back home because like I knew the Canadians are nicer, but at the same time it was like they weren't. Like I would go to a store and then like I would get like really bad customer service, and I'd be like, oh wow, LA people are kind of nicer. I wasn't sure if I was like just used to it, but that's what I noticed. Next question is day-to-day life. Let's see, so I would go to school. I would try to set my schedule for like later classes, or I would try to like rate my professor just to see who has the best class. But usually classes start at 10:30. I would have like a little break, or sometimes I would go to class, like another class right after, but my day would finish usually around latest 4. Or I had a class, it was art class, and it ended like at 7. So that would be the latest that I ever stay at school. And then when I worked at the bookstore, I would have either one class before I went to work or a class after I finished work. So it would kind of be like at school, like fully. And then I think near towards like year 3, I only started having only like 2 classes. So I mainly like worked full days on like days I didn't have class, and then just go to class on the other days, and then it's time for homework. And then I would just go home, do homework, eat dinner, and then I would hang out with my friends here and there, but I weren't as close to them in the first 2 years until like I really got used to the LA life. And then after I graduated, I actually got a OPT, so it's called I think optional practicum training, and that gave me the ability to work a year. And then I think I started off as an intern somewhere when I was only having 2 classes, and then after that I switched over to a makeup company downtown LA, and that was from like 7 to 4. So I had to wake up at 6 and drive all the way to downtown LA. That took like 30 minutes. And then after 4, I would get off, go do errands, what I had to do. It took me like 45 minutes to get back to Pasadena, but I would just go grocery shopping, or if I needed to like mail something off, I would do that. And then I would cook dinner, and that was pretty much my day. Sometimes I think like most of like half the year I would meet up my friends like late at night, and we would go either to the gym, or like if we wanted to hang out, we would just hang out for like a couple hours, and then that was it. Like I think that's the thing like I really like the most, was just hanging with friends. Like when I actually found friends, then it makes a very big difference for sure. But that's pretty much my day-to-day life. And then the weekends, I would try to go scout like new food places, church on Sundays. Since it was in downtown LA, we would just go find like a random food place to try, or like sightseeing events, or we try to fit in like a slight vacation, but that was pretty hard when I was still in school. Let's see, next question. Was it hard making new friends? And was it easier to make friends in California than Canada? It was hard. Like, I would talk to people in classes, just cause like class. But like after that, I had the choice to keep them as a friend or not to. And sometimes like you just have like those friends that are like, oh yeah, like they're only my friend like in class, like classmate. Like other than that, like if I don't really vibe with them, then I'm not gonna hang out with them. So when I finally met my friend, so I met one of them in dance class, and then he introduced me to a lot like of his friends, and then that's how I branched out to meet friends. So definitely like meeting friends of friends benefits you to expand your circle. And then working at the bookstore, you've made friends as well, but I would just say that they're kind of just like work friends. I've only hung out with them like a couple of times, and I wouldn't say it's making easier than California and Canada. Like maybe because they're like younger there, or they're just like more open, but I think it would be about the same. Like either you make friends from other friends or you meet them in school, but definitely the same kind of vibe wherever you go. And then the next question is expectations versus reality. So I guess I kind of like talked about it a little bit, but about downtown LA, and then also disappointed that it was a garbage dump. So that was one. And I think transportation for sure. Like I ended up getting a car probably in my second year being there, and it was like a game changer. Like I didn't want to take transit no more. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my first car ever. So just being in traffic and driving in traffic was definitely a different experience, because like I wouldn't normally drive when we go on vacation in California. My dad would always drive, and I would fall asleep in the back, so I wouldn't know what it's like to just sit there. And let me tell you, like, if you have music, like that's okay, or like podcasts, but just sitting there and like inching along, definitely you have to have a lot of patience. And especially when I had to drive there in the morning, I was like tired. It was like dark still, like sunrise was happening. But overall, I would say like there isn't too much what I would like classify as like disappointing or expectations. What is it like being away from family? So in the beginning, I was like very, very homesick. Like I called my family like every day. I didn't want to like go out. But then I would say like it was nice kind of having like independence like for the first time. I like got used to it. I didn't necessarily miss them all the time. And then I actually wanted to, you know, stay in California. I didn't want to go back home. Like every time I went back home to visit, I was like, oh, like I'm ready to go back. Like I definitely converted like my Vancouver life to the California life over there. But I wasn't alone for sure, since my ex at the time, his family was very welcoming. We always went to like family events, like family dinners, so that definitely made me feel like a little bit more like at home. And then my friends were like very supportive as well, so they are kind of like my second family for sure. Just knowing that they're there for you, as long as you have that community of people being there for you, then you don't necessarily, you know, miss your family as much. But when I did move, my parents replaced me with a dog, which I love, but like still, I think that was the main reason why I kept like FaceTiming them, and just to see like my dog, and just to like, you know, catch up. Like it was like definitely nice, like talking with like my sister, and just overall like, yeah. But I think like I definitely like was okay being apart. Like I didn't mind it at all. Like as long as like they were there when I would call, I think that like filled my like needs to be with family. So do you prefer independence or support from family? At the beginning, yeah, I needed a lot of support. Now I would say I'm like okay with being on my own. Like, I just like don't want to be like babied anymore. Like, it was nice that they were there to support me through school and just like through food. So I would say like, yeah, it was like nice for them to like support me. But like being independent like definitely helps you grow up, and it tells you like you need to be on your own, like can't have this forever. So I would definitely prefer independence overall, just so like I learn by myself from mistakes, but just them being there like as a backup, I wouldn't mind as much. And last question, what do you carry with you when you go out? So since I got a car, I definitely had a taser in my car. I never used it, thank goodness. And then my keys have pepper spray. It has a key, a shape of a key, but it's actually a knife. And that's pretty much what I carried with me every day. A lot of people say like California is like dangerous, the US, like you never know, like there's guns everywhere, like they sell guns at Walmart, which I was like, oh my goodness. But I would say pepper spray, like everyone had pepper spray. All the girls, like every time I saw their keychain, they had pepper spray. So that's what I usually carried with me. But I never had to really use it. I think I was okay with, you know, staying in certain areas or like at someone's house. Like we never really went out somewhere dangerous. So, but keeping that as a backup is good. A lot of stuff happened at my school, and when I get off work, I have to walk to the parking lot, and that was kind of scary because I was alone. But just having that with me was definitely, what do you call it? Like a safe haven kind of thing. And yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. I hope you liked this video. I will be coming out with part 2, so this is pretty much just the beginning, my impressions, overall like day to day, and my next video will be like top things that I like to do, top places I like to eat, and just like what I miss in general. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.